Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TNT Joe-Fi. This is tech news that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. I am your host, Jerome Ortega. This is episode 50, if I remember correctly. I think it's episode 50. So today, we don't have a ton of stories, like tech stories, but there's a couple out there. There are actually a couple reviews that I want to watch. Not watch, that I want to read about, specifically on the LG V60, kind of because I don't know too much about it, and it might be a good learning experience here. And I have a couple other stories. Again, it's kind of a slow tech news day today, so don't really know how long this is going to last, or this specific stream. Guess just depends how quickly we go through these stories. So Brian in the house. Brian, hey, welcome to the stream, man. How's it going? How you doing today? How you doing this afternoon? Today is, oh, I gotta get this out of my ear. Today is day, I don't know how many days in quarantine, a good number of days. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope everyone's good. So I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna start off with this story from Intel. Actually, I'm kind of a tech nerd, and I still build PCs. It's something that I like to do. I don't like buying my own unless it's a laptop. Otherwise, I usually build my own stuff. But there is this article from Engadget. Actually, I'll make the screen a little bigger so maybe you guys can read along with me if you'd like. So this article from Engadget talks about Intel's 10th gen H series, which can reach over 5 gigs. So I have a 2-year-old PC now, and at the time I built it like a powerhouse. I think I spent, almost $2,000 or over $2,000, and at the time I had a 4 gig processor, and it's what I'm using today to stream my PC. So let's kind of just get into it. Just like Intel said at CES, it's crossed the 5 gigahertz barrier with its new H series 10th gen notebook CPUs. Oh, a notebook CPU, and you won't need to shell out for the top of the line Core i9 to do it. The new 6 and 8 core i7, so I have an i7, processors reach up to 5.1 gigs boost speed on a single core. But if you want to go all out, the octa-core i9 hits 5.3 gigs, and it's fully unlocked for overclocking to boot. As usual, these H series chips are meant for gaming and workhorse machines, not laptops where battery efficient is key. You can expect around 44% better performance in Assassin's Creed Odyssey in 1080p with high settings compared to the 3-year-old i7 7700 HQ. And the new top-of-the-line Core i9 is 54% faster in Red Dead Redemption 2 compared to the i7 7820 HK. There weren't any mobile Core i9 chips 3 years ago. Reaching beyond 5 gigahertz is a notable achievement, and it's a nice deflect away from Intel's reliance on its 14-nanometer Comet Lake architecture. Just like its last batch of powerful ultra-portable CPUs. Intel is competing directly with AMD's new 4000 series Ryzen mobile processors, which also offers up to 8 cores, but with a lower 4.4 gigahertz maximum clock speed. AMD is using a refined 7-nanometer architecture, which makes them more efficient power-wise. And AMD's new chips also include up to 8 cores of Radeon Vega graphics. So the 10th gen H series processors also include some useful new features like thermal velocity boost. This is all real technical jargon that I'm not that interested in, especially since it's been a while since I've built a PC. It's been a while since I'm really going to have money to upgrade the PC I have now. But I have like a 2.5-year-old PC with an i7, 32 gigs of RAM. Again, I built it pretty heavily, just so, 2, 3 years later, it's still running pretty well. Where can you find these new H series chips? We're also seeing alongside Intel's announcement, we're also seeing new notebooks from Razer, Asus, Acer. I expect to see a whole new crop of gaming laptops hitting shelves. So pretty interesting, kind of, not really, just a new chip that's out there. Okay, so I have this article from The Verge that's talking about Google using machine learning to improve the quality of Duo calls, filling in the blanks when your audio data gets lost in transit. Especially now, today, that a lot of us are, a good amount of us are working from home because we're forced to because of this pandemic. Video conferencing, teleconferencing is a lot more important now than ever. Actually, yesterday I had to use Zoom. I was actually using StreamYard to do some of my teleconferencing, but I had to use Zoom yesterday for the first time, and I don't know. I had audio issues, like the audio. So the person I was teleconferencing with had kind of subpar internet, and I think what Zoom does to alleviate that is when the internet's not doing well or it's being choppy, it slows down the audio, like it slows down the whole video itself too. And I don't know, it just didn't seem natural. So I was kind of curious how Google Duo did this. Um, so Google has rolled out a new technology to improve audio quality in Duo calls when the service can't maintain a steady connection, called WaveNet EQ. It's based on technology from Google's DeepMind division that aims to replace audio jitter with artificial noise that sounds just like human speech, generated using machine learning. Kind of weird and kind of interesting. If you've ever made a call over the internet, chances are you've experienced audio jitter. It happens when packets of audio data sent as part of the call gets lost along the way or otherwise arrive late or in the wrong order. Google says that 99% of Duo calls experience packet loss. 20% of these lose over 3% of their audio, and 10% lose over 8%. That's a lot of audio to replace. Every calling app has to deal with this packet loss somehow, but Google says that these packet loss concealment (PLC) processes can struggle to fill gaps of 60 milliseconds or more without sounding robotic or repetitive. WaveNet EQ's solution is based on DeepMind's neural network technology, and it has been trained on data from over 100 speakers in 48 different languages. Here are a few audio samples from Google comparing WaveNet EQ against Net EQ, a commonly used PLC technology. Here's how it sounds when it's trying to replace 60 milliseconds of packet loss. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this, but I'm going to listen to it because I want to see what it sounds like, or hear what it sounds like.
At the foot of the mountain that separated the country of the Munchkins from the country of the Gillikins, the path divided.
Okay, so that was Net EQ, and then this is WaveNet EQ.
At the foot of the mountain that separated the country of the Munchkins from the country of the Gillikins, the path divided.
That definitely sounds better. If you hear that audio, that's that audio of jitter or lag or whatever, packet loss. You can kind of hear it stutter a bit, I guess what they're calling jitter.
At the foot of the mountain that separated the country of the Munchkins from the country of the Gillikins, at the foot of the mountain that separated the country of the...
Wow.
Well, mother, said the young student, looking up with a shade of impatience.
You hear how that sounds pretty robotic?
Well, mother, said the young student, looking up with a shade of impatience.
Huh. Okay. Here's a comparison when a call is experiencing packet loss of 120 milliseconds. So this is a lot longer.
Next came Olive's turn to help in the ceremonies.
Yeah, so that sounds real robotic compared to...
Next came Olive's turn to help in the ceremonies.
Wow.
Next came Olive's turn to help in the ceremonies.
That's Net EQ, and this is WaveNet EQ.
Next came Olive's turn to help in the ceremonies.
Huh.
They would think that they might do so too, and that would make you a great deal of trouble. They would think that they might do so too.
Yeah, so obviously it's better. So it says here there's a limit to how much audio the system can replace, though. Google's tech is designed to replace short sounds rather than whole words. So after 120 milliseconds, it fades out and produces silence. Google says it evaluated the system to make sure it wasn't introducing any significant new sounds. Plus, all of the processing also needs to happen on device since Google Duo calls are end-to-end encrypted by default. Once the call's real audio resumes, WaveNet EQ will seamlessly fade back to reality. It's a neat little bit of technology that should make calls that much bit easier to understand when the internet fails them. The technology is already available for Duo calls, so it's already available. Cool. Made on Pixel 4 phones thanks to the handset's December feature drop. That's awesome. And Google says it's in the process of rolling it out to other unnamed handsets. It's a great feature to have there, especially again with people working from home and doing a lot of teleconferencing, or people just fucking around and then they want to be on Zoom and talk to their friends or whatever. Six, hey, Six, welcome to the chat, man. Six says, "Yo, Brian," and hashtag cats up. What's good? What's good, Six? How you doing, man? Bailey says, "Hey guys." Bailey says, "What is this feature?" Bailey, so this is actually a feature in Google Duo, and it's using machine learning to improve the quality of Duo calls. So apparently, it's this technology here called WaveNet EQ compared to what it was on Net EQ. So obviously, it sounds better. Nice to see it. Nice to see Google doing something for Duo. It's actually a service I need to start using more, at least to try out. I know Mike and I were talking about maybe doing a video together, testing out different video conferencing apps. And something to keep in mind. So Bailey says I'm late. Sorry, Bailey, you're fine, man. Don't worry about it. No worries, no worries. Okay, so the next article I have here is from Android Community. I don't know how many of you guys use TikTok. I talk about TikTok a lot because I worked with them at my last job a good amount. And even back then when TikTok was spending a shit ton of money to advertise their platform, you could see that it was starting to rise because I think that marketing or whatever money they were throwing at it was really doing well. But they also have a platform that, you know, they actually support and works well. I can't speak much about its privacy issues, but, you know, now it looks like competitors are trying to make the forefront here. I know that the creator of Vine released a new app called Byte, BYTE, but that was over a month ago or a month and a half ago, and I don't hear many people talking about it still. TikTok kind of took that market, and I wonder if anybody's going to be able to take that away now. It's kind of like when Snapchat came around and then Instagram started creating stories. I mean, I think Snapchat is still pretty relevant. I don't use it as often, but I know a lot of people who use Instagram stories, me included. So YouTube may be launching a TikTok competitor called Shorts. I don't know about that name. With TikTok becoming the new social media darling this COVID-19 quarantine season, other media sharing apps are trying to come up with their own version or with new gimmicks to get their audience back. YouTube, of course, affected by this, and it looks like they may be launching their own version of the app with a feature called Shorts. The formula will probably be pretty similar to what TikTok is doing, but with one distinct advantage: licensed music. According to the information, Shorts is a feature that will become live within the YouTube app where people can upload short, hence the name, videos. You'll be able to see all the shorts in a feed within the mobile app. TikTok currently lets users choose their music and other audio from their library, but since YouTube is Google, their library is more extensive to users, so users will be able to have a much wider choice of licensed music. Everyone wants to be able to launch their own version of TikTok or become the new TikTok. That's weird to say because, again, when I started with this company that I used to work for, TikTok was pretty cringy. It was hard to... So back then I used to have to thumb through a bunch of TikTok videos. Like literally I would spend some days I was there scrolling through 6 to 8 hours of TikTok. And that was before there wasn't a lot of shit on TikTok. And that was a chore to find like entertaining or viral worthy videos. Yeah, that's kind of what I did for a moment of time in my job. So to see someone say everyone wants to be able to launch their own version of TikTok or become the new TikTok is just really weird to see. Even Facebook has their own thing that they're testing out called Lasso. Lasso's been out for a while and it's shit. No one uses it. And even if there are a lot of articles coming out that the Chinese owned app may be used by the Chinese government to spy on people, celebrities and ordinary folk can't help themselves. If there's probably an alternative that comes from a not so suspicious developer, then people may flock to it if the app or feature is done and marketed right. The last I heard that anything that was even remotely comparable to TikTok was Triller, and I haven't used either of those apps in a while. I feel like I'm too old to use those apps, but I don't know. Maybe that's not the right way to look at it. XDA Developers has also seen new strings in version 15.13.33 of the YouTube app that indicates we may see a quote bedtime reminder feature soon. Now that we're all hopefully sheltering in place, there's a tendency to just watch videos all day and all night. That's me. This possible feature will let you set a bedtime so that the app will remind you to stop watching videos and go to sleep. Which is weird because these apps, that's all they're made to do. The whole point of these apps is to get you to use it as long as possible. The more retention that you get on it, the better it is for them, especially advertising wise. Both these features are, of course, not confirmed yet, but we'll probably know more about them over the coming weeks. As for whether Shorts can compete with TikTok, that is highly questionable right now, as the latter is enjoying its 15 seconds of fame that may even turn into 15 minutes if we're not careful. So yeah, let's see here. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, and it's something that I actually don't know much about. I know a lot of people kind of are either you hate these LG phones or you love them. I honestly don't necessarily feel either way because I've never really messed with one. But I figure I'd read through this review and see what kind of pros and cons there are. To be perfectly honest with you, I feel that LG's hindrance for people buying them is maybe their software. I don't know. I've heard good. I mean, obviously their audio. It's always touted that it's one of the best, which I can't deny. I think I've had LG phones that have had pretty good audio quality, but I'm also not an audiophile, so for the most part, everything sounds pretty good unless I'm changing hardware for earbuds or headphones or whatever. But let's kind of get into this article. So LG V60 review striking the perfect. I'm sure by now you're probably aware that different brands take different approaches in delivering similar products. It doesn't matter if you're buying a new electric car, a pair of headphones, or a smartphone. Companies like Samsung and Huawei have been known for going overboard. That's very true. Flaunting features like 100 times space zoom, which is a lot of bullshit. Foldable displays, which is still having issues. 120 hertz refresh rates. Battery draining, but apparently really good. I haven't had a chance to mess up with 120 hertz yet. And quote, phenomenal cosmic power. Okay, that last one was Jafar from Aladdin, but I think you get the point. These products are bold and innovative, and no one's denying that. But all that bombast usually comes with a price, one that leaves your bank account looking like you've just been scammed by a Nigerian prince, which is one of the reasons I haven't purchased any of these phones in a while, because it's just too much money at this point. Too much money. At the opposite end of the spectrum, you get this, the LG V60. It's unassuming, it sports most of the specs the other big boys are playing with, and it has an odd case that sports a secondary display. And the best part is that it's up to 50% cheaper than some of its closest competitors. But the real question is it any good? Well, let's find out. LG's been a major playing in the smartphone space since the early days of Android. The company has had a handful of great hits, but it's never been as successful as Samsung. I mean, that's pretty obvious there. I don't know. LG's kind of come in and come out, and I've just never really seen them be consistent with their lineup. We just talked about how LG was killing their G lineup, right? So, back in the day, the LG G5, G6, and yeah, they stopped making the G series apparently after toying with the modular smartphone concept with the LG G5 back in 2016. Which did they even really make any modular components for that G5? I don't remember. I had a G5. I liked it because it had a removable battery, and actually, I thought at the time the software was pretty clean on it. It wasn't vanilla Android, but I could live with it. And I think the speakers were really good at the time. It also had an IR blaster. The build quality, though, was pretty questionable. Anyway, it says here the company's flagship devices have been relegated to the back burner as many of its competitors have stepped up. But the new LG V60 sets a different tone, delivering a phenomenal experience at just the right price, which could make consumers think twice before blindly handing over their cash to Samsung this year. How much are they going to tell me? Because I'd like to know now. So ultimate value. Now, I know that a smartphone's price isn't the most important factor that we all consider when buying a new device. Yeah, but it's pretty high up there. I think a smartphone's price at this point, especially for me, is probably, if not the biggest factor. Other than good camera, good performance, right? So those two are up there. When I say good performance, I also mean stock Android. I'm really having a hard time dealing with any other software that's not stock Android, but that's just me. So let's see here. Now, I know that a smartphone's price isn't the most important factor that we all consider when buying a new device. If it was, the Galaxy Z Flip wouldn't exist, and we'd all be walking around with Motorola phones in our pockets. It's more about achieving the right balance, and the V60 does just that. So how just does people need to proofread their shit? So how much does the V60 cost? Whatever. You can't buy it unlocked. So you can't buy it unlocked? That's already a huge red flag. I'm not going to buy a phone if I can't buy it unlocked. So it makes me just not even want to read the rest of this, but I will. But the cheapest price from a U.S. service provider is $800 for the phone, or $900 if you want the phone and the dual screen case. Yeah, that's already pretty expensive compared to the new Galaxy S20 lineup. That's a steal, since you still get the new Snapdragon 865 chipset, 5G, and camera setup that's worthy of the phone's flagship status. But I think you can get a S20 now for $800, right? Then they put that $200 discount on it, immediate discount. Or I just did an article yesterday that said Samsung said if you buy one of their S20 lineup phones now, they'll give you 50% cash back up to 2 years. You can return it 2 years later. They'll still give you 50% of what you bought for it. That really smells of desperation, but I also don't want to shell out $1,000 today or anytime soon. That being said, since this phone is selling for 20% less than Samsung's S20 base model, LG did have to make a few compromises. The V60 comes with a lower resolution Full HD Plus display. It only has 8 gigs of RAM, and the triple camera on the back is compromised of a standard ultra wide and time of flight setup. That's right, the telephoto camera that seems to be so popular these days is missing. But while it's lacking in a few places, the V60 makes up for it by featuring a beefy 5,000 milliamp hour battery. That's a good plus. A quad mic system for incredible audio recording. I've heard good things always about their audio, and a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack with LG's unique quad DAC setup, which delivers an impeccable audio experience for a smartphone. Put all that together, and the LG V60 could actually be one of the best devices we've seen in 2020. That's questionable. Hardware and performance. If you're a fan of big phones, the LG V60 will be right up your alley. Its 6.8-inch display is massive, but the lack of a curved panel means there are significant bezels all the way around. While this makes the front of the phone less appealing than its competitors, the flat panel has improved usability with fewer false touches with the side of your hand and a dramatic reduction in glare along the edges. To keep the cost down, you only get a FHD Plus display. but you won't really be able to notice individual pixels unless you go looking for them. And that's something actually I'm going to go into a little later in this stream, because the OnePlus 8 just got, I guess, superior rating from DisplayMate, but I don't think most people notice. Your everyday user or consumer who buys a phone isn't pixel peeping the display, unless the colors are really off or something, unless something dramatic. But otherwise, I don't think people are really going to notice as much. So the metal and glass design of the phone isn't a dramatic change from last year's V50, but when you flip the phone over to the back, you'll notice that the LG has added a ring to outline the cameras, which also feature a slight bump due to the sensor size increase. When holding the phone in your hand, you'll also feel the added heft and girth. I'll tell you this, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery isn't light, and it definitely takes up a lot of space. I don't know. I like a heavier phone, kind of makes it feel solid, right? Like you actually have a premium device on you. But again, everyone has their own likes and dislikes. I just don't know about, I don't know, give me a bigger battery. I'll take it. The Snapdragon 865 is undoubtedly the must-have chipset this year if you're looking for a flagship smartphone and 5G connectivity. It delivers incredible performance on the V60, giving you more than enough power to play all the best games Android has to offer and keep the phone's UI stutter-free. If you're a hardcore multitasker, you might be disappointed with only getting 8 gigs of RAM here. Really? Is 8 gigs of RAM not enough for a smartphone? Am I crazy? Does it have to be 12 now? But it's honestly more than enough to satisfy most users. You occasionally notice apps being dumped from memory. Apps are still being dumped from memory even with 8 gigs of RAM. Why? That doesn't sound right. But unless you're constantly switching between games, you shouldn't have to wait more than a second or two for the 865 to load it back up. Now, LG didn't add in this massive battery to compete with the Galaxy S20 Ultra. The extra capacity is needed to keep the phone's dual display powered up. I would need to see how this dual display really works. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of foldables just because they're still so new and they're still having issues, but I'm also trying to figure out what I would have a use case for a dual display. Like, what would I really use a dual display for? The only thing that I've ever seen that actually made any sense to me for dual display is, let's say I'm watching a stream like this one. If you had dual display and you were watching it on a phone, right, that had 2 displays, then you could watch the stream in full screen, and then you could have the other display show the live chat. So then you're still engaged in both ways. That's the only pro I've seen so far for it. Obviously, I'm not a huge multitasker. I'm not a businessman. I'm not walking around in a suit and tie that needs to look at 2 screens at once because I'm some hot shit. I still don't think anyone really needs to do that, but there's a use case for that kind of stuff. Maybe I don't know, architects, or I don't know, some fancy shit that needs blueprinting or something that needs a bigger screen. I don't know. Again, yeah, is 2 better than 1? I suppose so. But that is a lot to carry on you, I guess. I mean, I was just talking about, I don't mind having a bigger phone with a bigger battery, but having 2 screens, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see here. Without it, the V60 can easily make it through a day and a half or even 2 days with about 10 hours of screen on time. That's crazy amount of screen on time. It's not the best battery life I've ever seen, but it's up there. As you can imagine, 10 hours of screen on time, and it's not the best battery life I've ever, I'm assuming it's still one of the best, right? As you can imagine, the dual display will eat into that a bit, but you'll easily be able to make it through a long work day with 7 to 8 hours of screen on time if you keep the second display powered on continuously. I mean, at this point, if I can only charge once a day and I can get 5 or 6 hours of screen on time, I'm pretty happy. I've switched over to my Pixel 4 as my daily again, just to, fuck around with it and see how it's held up over the last 4 or 5 months. And yesterday, I think I barely got to 4 hours of screen on time on it. I was like, oh, yay. I got to 4 hours or close to 4 hours. Because I think there have been times I've had 3 hours of screen on time on that thing. So I don't know. Anyway, it says here, no matter how you slide it, no matter how you slice it, you'll have a very hard time killing this thing in a single day. To top the battery off, you get Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4.0 Plus, which will take the phone from 0 to 100 in an hour and 40 minutes. You also get wireless charging, but you won't be getting the fancy reverse wireless charging features that Samsung and Huawei have been including for the past few years. Who uses reverse wireless charging? Have any of you guys used that? I can maybe see that coming in a pinch if like my AirPods, if I forgot to charge them, which again, I guess is not a bad thing, right? It's nice to have a feature, especially if it's a silent feature like that, but I don't think that's a deal breaker in any regard. I don't think people are buying phones, and if it doesn't have reverse wireless charging, they're like, fuck it, I don't want it. How could you not put that in a phone? I have to admit, when looks at the LG, I have to admit the LG V60's camera specs, the phone seems to lag behind other 2020 flagship smartphones. For the launch camera, you get a 64 megapixel sensor that delivers 4:1 pixel binning for its 16 megapixel shots. And then you get a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, something that LG pioneered back in the day. Other than that, there's a time of flight sensor for depth information, but LG's left out the ever popular telephoto camera, which Samsung, Oppo, and Huawei have been using as their main marketing feature. I don't think their telephoto thing is well, maybe it's their main marketing feature. I don't know. We all know that 100 times space zoom is a bunch of bullshit. So LG V60 versus Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus camera comparison. Oh, this will be fun to kind of go through. That being said, the V60 still offers 2 times hybrid zoom thanks to its 64 megapixel main sensor, which honestly turns out nearly as sharp as what we've seen from other phones with dedicated zoom cameras. Here's the thing. Most cameras today, most smartphone cameras today that have a good amount of sunlight or indoor lighting or lighting in general is going to have a good picture, mostly indistinguishable from other phones, unless again you're pixel peeping, but most people are just posting their shit on Instagram, and nobody is like going through it with a fine-tooth comb. But while the hardware LG is using is pretty simple, the image quality you get from them is superb. The images aren't as sharp as they should be, but the image processing is natural with great dynamic range, consistent white balance, and accurate color reproduction. The large sensor and pixels also deliver great low light shots. The only disappointment here is that LG has a long way to go before it catches up with the competition with its phone dedicated night mode setting. So that's another big thing for me too. I feel like at this point, with the prices of phones, especially how expensive they are, the big differentiators now is how well the camera performs at night. I feel like that is what separates a really good, expensive smartphone from another. Obviously, there are other factors there. That's my measuring stick, right? If I'm going to be spending that much money on a phone, it's like, well, how good do these pictures take at night? How well do they take at night compared to another flagship phone? Because my iPhone 11 Pro has the best night shots I've seen in a while. Compared to the Pixel 4, the iPhone 11 Pro is the better camera at night. If you don't believe me, you can watch some of my videos. Again, they're my testing. I've done it my way. Everyone's case might be different there, or everyone's testing might be different, but I mean, it's been pretty consistent, and I've done a good number of tests. Maybe I should do another one. It's been a while since I've done one. So let's see here. The results don't really add a lot of light when simply switching it on and moving the slider over tends to overexpose the scene and leave you with a blurrier shot. Well, that's not fun. Yeah, like this is garbage right here. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in a little more. Can't read any of these. No, like that's no. That's nice. It's very highly sharpened. That's a good amount of lens flare, but So like, if you took this with a Pixel, right? What the Pixel does is they'll correct white balance also. So this will go from orange, like this dark, this warm color, to a more lighter, more natural looking color, which doesn't really that doesn't mean color reproduction, right? Because they're obviously changing that white balance. But for a lot of people, it's more appealing. For me too. Usually when I edit photos, because I don't really edit my smartphone shots, right? I edit my DSLR ones, but I'll always change that white balance to a more natural looking one. Yeah, this is all sorts of blah. Like none of this is like, this is all overexposed. I mean, that's a little better, but there's just a good amount of flare. Obviously better when you get closer in. So this is a portrait shot, but look at that. Look at how much this is the thing that actually the Pixel 4 and I've done videos on that. The Pixel 4 has done a great job at making sure that they blur out the proper depth, or they give you a more realistic depth of field, right? So like you can see here, this guy's hat is fucked up. This girl's hat is fucked up. Her hair here is blurred here. And then this is sharp here and not blurred in. This obviously AI here needs to do a lot better job than what this is doing. And in my testing, at least, the Pixel 4 does this better than any other phone. And I think a lot of that has to do with its second camera. I know a lot of people are going to say, no, the Pixel just needs their one camera. It does everything. But compare the Pixel 3 to the Pixel 4 in portrait mode, and the Pixel 4 will destroy it. It will destroy it. And whatever this LG is doing is garbage. Don't shoot in portrait if that's how they're all going to turn out. That's not so bad. Adequate lighting. Yeah, this is really, I mean, look at I'm forgetting the word here, but it's not it's like real hazy over here. And that sharpness is lost over here too. Decent. I mean, they're nothing special, right? I mean, they're sharp shots. Like this is a really nice one. I like this one a lot. I might be looking at it in a more artistic way, but this is a very nice shot. I don't. He's like, I'll zoom into this doorknob. No, but it looks good. I like it. That's great too. It's a great shot. Especially this is kind of indoor lighting. I mean, this is overexposed back here, but it's not bad. I mean, obviously we could push the shadows up a little more. No, these are good shots. These are actually really good indoor shots. The hair is a little fucked up over here, but it's not so bad. Why does this do better? Maybe it does better in just like indoor lighting, not night shots. Again, that's usually most phones, right? At this point. That's really good. Is this not with the LG V60? What am I looking at? Oh, these are just the rest of the shots in here. Okay. No, that's why it went up to the other shots. So let's see here. While not having a telephoto camera is disappointing, I'm glad they opted for the ultra wide instead. I use my ultra wide more than my telephoto, to be honest with you. I think ultra wide has a much more broad range of uses than a telephoto, but that's me. I guess I can't speak for everyone else. I'm just telling you my personal experience, and I feel like that's what works for me. So let's see here. Having a wider field of view is amazing for landscape shots and pictures in the city, giving you shots that honestly change the way you see the world. Like it typically does, LG's managed to keep barrel distortion to a minimum, even though the 12mm lens. I either feel like my reading is getting fucked up or the wording is not correct here. The phone's 10 megapixel front facing camera is on par with what I've seen from the competition, though the 30mm lens doesn't give you a whole lot of extra room when taking pictures with friends. If you're into capturing video, all cameras offer 4K video capture up to 30 frames per second, but the main one can do 60, And if you want to go even further, 8K is an option as well. So it's great for all you high, super high end 4K, 8K whores out there. I still shoot in 1080p. I still feel like it does a really good job, especially when I'm just uploading my shit to YouTube. Again, it's not, I'm not bashing it. It's good to have it, right? I'm just saying, like, I feel like I can still get really good video production quality out of 1080p. Based on my testing, setting things at 4K 30 is the best topic, since it delivers decently bright clips in low light and allows you to switch to the ultra wide camera on the fly as well. So software and dual screen case. If I had to choose one feature that I'd completely swap out on the V60, it would be LG software. There you go. That's kind of what I was thinking, was maybe the software just was not up to par. And so again, this is one person's review, but I'm sure the sentiment is similar to a lot of other people. I'll be honest, the amount of bloatware, there we go again. You can't get it unlocked. It has bloatware. I don't know. It's $800 still. $900 if you want that second screen, that, I don't know, whatever you need to use it for. But it has great audio quality. So again, your priorities might vary. Depends on what you want. I'll be honest, the amount of bloatware pre-installed on this phone is out of control. It's that bad that he has to call it out of control. And since all variants of the phone, at least here in the US, is sold through a service provider, there's no option for a clean unlocked build. That's an automatic no for me. Automatic no. You can tell me everything this phone has, and as soon as I find out that it's carrier locked and it has bloatware on it, no thank you. Like, I should just stop reading this review right now. Actually, I will, because there's no, that, like, it totally turns it off for me. Well, it's pretty much done here. So it says here, but even once you uninstall all the apps you don't want, you're still left with a launcher that looks basic, with a launcher that lacks basic customization options while also hiding basic settings. Swapping in an alternate launcher is probably the way to go, but it won't fix the issues completely. That's the thing too. People like to tell me, just install whatever launcher. I think I'm just a very tried and true fan of vanilla of vanilla Android. By vanilla Android, I mean stock Android, and it's hard to change my thoughts on that. I just have a hard time using any other software that's not stock Android, because I know it's not going to get the updates as soon as when Google puts theirs out. It's always been a sore spot for me. That's why I kind of stick with Pixels, and before that, Nexus phones, and then the whole Google Experience phones. So final thoughts. When all is said and done, I have to say that LG V60 is a spectacular smartphone. Spectacular, except you have to buy it from a carrier. It has bloatware on it. When you uninstall that bloatware, there's still some shit on it that doesn't make it that great. The night shots aren't good. The portrait mode is finicky and doesn't really give you proper depth of field, but spectacular smartphone at $800, $900. It may be missing one. I'm obviously being very sarcastic. Again, these are my thoughts on it, right? I mean, you guys think whatever you want. I'm just reading you this article and I'm relaying how I feel about it. It may be missing one or two things that you can find on Samsung's Galaxy S20 lineup, but the combination that LG has presented delivers a mix of features found even on Samsung's most expensive S20 Ultra, while still coming up shy of the $1,000 Samsung is charging for its cheapest device. Is it perfect? Not by a long shot. But the V60 strikes just the right balance, delivering an experience that's perfect for the average consumer, while also appealing to those who may want something out of the ordinary with the dual screen case. Obviously, I'm being very harsh on it. I am not a fan of buying a phone at a carrier. I feel like they degrade the phone for what it is. Like, why do Android phones always have to go through that whole they have to go through that whole issue of getting the carrier to put bloatware on it? Apple doesn't have to do any of that. Apple's like, this is our phone, this is how we want to sell it, this is how you're going to sell it, done. Because money, right? I mean, obviously Apple makes a great product. and they get to say that, like, no, you don't fuck with our phone. You're just going to take this phone and you're going to sell it at the price we put it at and whatever. Android doesn't get that benefit. They don't. I mean, even the Pixels don't get that benefit. A lot of these, I'm not saying for bloatware or whatever, but no, actually, I think some Pixels did. Anyway, regardless, what I'm saying is like these carriers, they like to, they know that Android phones don't sell the same way, so they want to get a little piece of that too by adding their own shit into it. So the LG V60 ThinQ, the good, amazing value, that's questionable. Incredible battery life. I'm with you there. Great cameras. Yeah, but I see, here's the thing is like, I haven't tested the cameras personally, right? I just saw these pictures here and I gave you my opinion on them. But almost any phone during the day in good lighting is going to be a great camera. If you don't believe me, you can go check some of my old videos where I'm testing like the Moto G7 that Mike let me borrow, and that was a $180 phone. And I'm sure I can say that for a lot of other $100 phones in good lighting. Great camera. You're probably not even gonna distinguish, or they're gonna be indistinguishable from a lot of other high-end phones. Again, the differentiator there is its night mode or its night shots. The best flagship audio experience. I can't argue with that. Again, I haven't tested it personally, but I always hear great things. The bad, lackluster software, heavy and bulky. The price, carrier only, can't get it factory unlocked. Not the best camera at night. You're missing some stuff there, guy. Okay, so that's it. That's actually a really long read. This is going to be a very long clip to cut. Okay. Chat. Hi, chat. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I know I was kind of talking a lot there. So let's see here. Brian, thanks for always telling people welcome to the stream. You're such a nice guest in the show. So thanks, man. Bailey says their built-in DACs are really good and they still have headphone jacks, which is a plus. It's very true. I agree, Bailey. The headphone jack's still there. They just need to keep the device updated and change their UI. I like that. That's a good point. They might be onto something. Less phone models. Software is what has always turned me away from them. Updates just aren't timely. As Will says, wait a little bit and the price will drop down, and you might get a free TV and a toaster also. So here's the funny thing is, I just did this whole thing on the LG V60, but I have my eyes on an LG G7, and I know that might sound funny, but and I talked about this with this tech chat that I'm in, but I was looking at an LG G7, but the Android One version. So the LG G7 One, which has stock Android on it, and I think I could get a used one right now for like $125, but I'm trying to see if I can get one for under $100 shipped, and then just playing with it and testing it out and seeing how well it does. And also to kind of prove the point that a phone with stock Android and something for $100 is still really serviceable. Obviously, it's not going to be as fast, and it'll probably lag, and I'll probably get annoyed with it, maybe. But I'd still like to test it out and see if it's still worthwhile, especially for the price. That's not COVID-19. That's just I swallowed wrong there. Geekheim, Adam. Hey, Adam says hello all. Adam, welcome to the stream. How's it going, man? How you doing? Glad to have you here. So let's see. Brian says those LG shots look washed out. Oh, that's the word I was looking for. God, I haven't done a camera review in a while. I'm forgetting my terminology. Yeah, washed out. That's a good way to put it. So let's see. Jerome pulling out that pimp hand slapping OEMs. Six says keeping it raw on tech. Jerome Ortega's comedy hour. I mean, I feel like at this point, you know, I have a mic in front of me. I mean, I might as well just say how I feel. So, George, hey, welcome to the chat, man, or welcome to the stream. Thanks for making it. How you doing today, George? Couldn't agree more. Apple does it right. No bloat. Will is right once again. Yeah, and Will's not here. Will's not here to see all of that. So, okay, so I still have a good amount of articles here. I don't know how much I'm going to go through because this one actually took a lot longer than I thought. We're hitting 50 minutes now, so I will talk about the stuff that I obviously put in the chat, but this article here from the New York Times talks about a feature on Zoom secretly displayed data from people's LinkedIn profiles. So I'm going to kind of get into a couple of articles here for Zoom. Actually, I should start putting some of them together. But Zoom's in the headlines a lot lately because of how quickly they blew up and for a lot of their privacy issues that they're encountering. So after an inquiry from Times reporters, Zoom said it would disable a data mining feature that could be used to snoop on participants during messages without their knowledge. What? Why is this a thing? Why is this in here? Is this a bug or is this something that is like secretly in here and people are taking advantage of it? So it says here a sales prospecting feature on Zoom allowed certain users to access other people's LinkedIn profiles during a meeting without notifying them. That's weird. That's like creepy weird. That's creepy stalker weird. For Americans sheltering at home during the coronavirus pandemic, the Zoom video conferencing platform has become a lifeline, enabling millions of people to easily keep in touch with family members, friends, students, teachers, and work colleagues. But what many people may not know is that until Thursday, a data mining feature on Zoom allowed some participants to surreptitiously, God, why are you putting such hard words in here for me, New York Times? To access LinkedIn profile data about other users without Zoom asking for their permission during the meeting or even notifying them that someone else was snooping on them. I'll kind of highlight so you guys can read with me. The undisclosed data mining adds to growing concerns about Zoom's business practices at a moment when public schools, health providers, employers, blah, blah, blah. We understand what's going on here. So I want to know what this is doing exactly. An analysis by the New York Times found that when people signed into a meeting, Zoom's software automatically sent their names and email addresses to a company system it used to match them with their LinkedIn profiles. The data mining feature was available to Zoom users who subscribed to a LinkedIn service for sales prospecting called LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Once a Zoom user enabled the feature, they could quickly and covertly access LinkedIn profile data, like locations, employer names, and job titles for people in their Zoom meetings by clicking on a LinkedIn icon next to their names. The system did not simply automate the manual process of one user looking up the name of another participant on LinkedIn during a Zoom meeting. That's creepy. That's really creepy. Yeah, so it says here in tests conducted last week, the Times found that even when a reporter signed into a Zoom meeting under pseudonyms, Anonymous and I Am Not Here, the data mining tool was able to instantly match him to his LinkedIn profile. What? Huh. Yeah, obviously there are some privacy issues here, and it's being taken advantage of. In doing so, Zoom disclosed the reporter's real name to another user, overriding his efforts to keep it private. Reporters also found that Zoom automatically sent participants' personal information to its data mining tool, even when no one in a meeting had activated it. This week, for instance, as high school students in Colorado signed into a mandatory video meeting for a class, Zoom readied the full names and email addresses of at least 6 students and their teacher for possible use by its LinkedIn profile matching tool, according to a Times analysis of the data traffic that Zoom sent to a student's account. I mean, it's technology that people are taking advantage of, which is like, okay, that's cool in theory, right? Hey, I can set up the software that's going to go and data mine this and that, but yeah, obviously you're taking advantage of privacy issues here, especially when people are trying to be private, to be anonymous, when they're teleconferencing or doing whatever. This is not what people really signed up for. At least I'm assuming so. Most people wouldn't. In a separate statement, LinkedIn said it worked to make it easy for members to understand their choices over what information they share and would suspend the profile matching feature on Zoom while we investigate this further. As the video conferencing service's popularity has surged, however, the company has scrambled to handle software design choices and security flaws that have made users vulnerable to harassment and privacy invasions. On Monday, for instance, the Boston office of the Federal Bureau of the FBI issued a warning saying that it had received multiple reports from Massachusetts schools about trolls hijacking Zoom meetings with displays of pornography, white supremacist imagery, and threatening language, malicious attacks known as Zoom bombing. Privacy experts said the company seemed to value ease of use and fast growth over instituting default user protections. And that's the thing. As a company grows and you find all these awesome things you can do with it, there's no one on the back end making sure that your privacy is taken care of, and that's an issue. Obviously, that's an issue, and it's an issue that's growing because a lot of people are using Zoom to the point where I think I've seen some companies say that they were going to drop. I think Elon Musk or SpaceX said that they were dropping Zoom because of its privacy things. This is a very long article. I'm not really going to go through all of this. Yeah, this is how he's saying when he uses a pseudonym, I am not here. Zoom nonetheless displayed details from his LinkedIn profile, including his real name to another user. This screenshot has been modified to redact information that could identify the other user. Just after 1 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday, Zoom sent an automated message to users saying it had disabled the LinkedIn profile matching feature, quote, due to administrative issues. Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it. We will notify you when the app is re-enabled, the message said. And if they do, it's probably not going to be for that. So this article here from TechRadar Pro says Zoom calls are not end-to-end encrypted, even though it says they are. So I didn't read the whole article, so I don't know if it's a clickbait title, but if that's true, then now they're lying about it, and I don't know. So Zoom Video Communications has seen talking about how it's gone crazy and whatever. So it says here on its website and in a security related white paper, the US based video conferencing company boasts about end-to-end encryption. However, The Intercept discovered that the service actually uses transport encryption instead. So if it's not using that, why are they boasting about it? Why are they lying about it? Transport encryption is a transport layer security TLS protocol which secures the connection between a user and the server they are connected to. TLS is also used to help secure connections between users and any website they visit with HTTPS protocol. So in a statement to The Intercept, the Zoom spokesperson revealed that the service is unable to provide end-to-end encryption at the moment, saying currently it is not possible to enable E2E encryption for Zoom video meetings. Zoom video meetings use a combination of TCP and UDP, blah, blah. Basically, the company clarified that its use of the phrase end-to-end in its white paper is in reference to the connection being encrypted between Zoom endpoints. Okay, so a little clickbait, a little not. Obviously, again, there are issues with Zoom. That's pretty much how this is going. I don't know if I had another Zoom story here. I do, and so I just want to kind of tie that in. Oh, this is a message to our users. I guess it's apologizing for its privacy stuff. For the past several weeks, supporting this influx of users has been a tremendous undertaking and our sole focus. We have strived to provide you with uninterrupted service and the same user-friendly experience that has made Zoom the video conferencing platform of choice for enterprises around the world. Blah, blah, blah. Privacy. For that, I am deeply sorry, and I want to share what we're doing about it. So Zoom trying to do the right thing. Are they going to do the right thing? I don't know. But we're going to move on from that because, again, it's an issue. If you do use Zoom, maybe it's time to look at something different, maybe something a little more secure. What that is, I don't know. I haven't dived into it that much. I use StreamYard for a lot of stuff, and I've been fine with it. I mean, it probably has holes too, but it's not big enough for anyone to poke at it, and so I don't know. I might just skip around here. I don't think I'm going to go through all these stories, but I do want to talk about the OnePlus 8. So this article from Android Central talks about how the OnePlus 8 series picks up DisplayMate's A+ rating, Best Smartphone Display Award. Here's a quick question to you guys. How often do you see a DisplayMate award given to a phone and that was the reason you bought that phone? None? No times that wasn't the reason you bought that phone because DisplayMate said it was an A+. I have an issue with things like DisplayMate and DxOMark. I think they do a decent job at highlighting the technical aspects of phones and cameras, and I think that's all great and it does all well and good. But I don't know that most people really see that difference. Maybe the whole point is so that they can point those things out, right? For the very techie, geeky nerds, yours truly included. But I don't know. Sometimes I don't trust them either. Sometimes I feel like some of that stuff might be skewed. I did talk to Brian about it earlier, and I just feel like we kind of joked around about it that what is OnePlus paying DisplayMate to give them this A+ award? Would do other companies pay to give them a better DxOMark? But I don't know, even in my case, so like DxOMark for camera reviews, even though they'll regard a phone as highly rated or whatever, and then in my own testing, it's different. So I don't know. I take it as a guide. I'm already giving you the conclusion to what I feel about this, but take these things as a guide. If it gives it an A+ rating, great. Hey, it has a great display. Wonderful. Hey, it got really high marks on DxOMark, so it has a great camera. Wonderful. But don't use that as your be all end all to buy a phone. Take a look at other reviews, although that's really hard to say because I just had a whole thing about that, about how reviews are getting skewed now because people are getting paid to say good things and not say the bad things. And I think it's a shame. It's a shame because we're getting influenced by people who are getting paid to influence people to buy things that they might not really look highly upon, right? Tony Stark, right? And OnePlus. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., right? He goes around and he carries a OnePlus phone and he looks around like he's using it, but he doesn't use that shit. He has an iPhone. Most people use iPhones. That's my assumption. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but I'm pretty sure Robert Downey Jr. doesn't use a OnePlus phone every day. I'm sure that's not his daily driver. Okay, so the AMOLED display on the OnePlus 8 Pro is set to be on par with the best in the industry. What you need to know, the OnePlus 8 series picked up DisplayMate's A+ rating and a Best Smartphone Display award. The OnePlus 7 Pro also received a similar rating last year. OnePlus confirmed that it is using a 120 Hz AMOLED panel this year, matching what Samsung is offering on the Galaxy S20 series. Here's another thing too. In no way, shape, or form am I bashing OnePlus. I'm not. I am questioning how well these tech sites, how well these tests are really being run. I'm just a guy behind a computer screen who looks at these things and just questions it. I don't know if there's anything wrong with taking a look at it and just saying, hey, don't take it as the Bible, because it shouldn't be taken as the Bible. Again, do your homework, do some research on it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a great display. I'm sure it is. I'm sure the 120 Hertz is going to be fucking awesome too. And it's going to be great to look at, and people are going to talk about it for weeks to come when this phone comes out. MKBHD already has this phone. He probably got it like 6 months ago. I'm just kidding. You know how he gets shit early. You know how all these reviewers get the phones a lot earlier and they've been testing it forever. Anyway, it's a little joke that I do with the other tech guys that I talk with. So at the start of the year, OnePlus CEO Pete Lau said the OnePlus 8 series will offer the best smartphone display in 2020. It looks like that may well be the case, with DisplayMate once again bestowing its highest A+ rating to the OnePlus 8 series and a Best Smartphone Display award. So it got this A+ and a Best Smartphone Display award over the Galaxy S20, or the Galaxy S20 Ultra. According to DisplayMate, the display on the OnePlus 8 series sets or matches more than 10 smartphone display performance records in virtually all key categories for the best displays on the market, including color accuracy, image contrast, display brightness, and screen reflection, with 4 categories marked visually indistinguishable from perfect. That's great. If, again, these are accurate reviews. Samsung has been the industry leader in this category for several years, and it will be interesting to see if OnePlus can dethrone the South Korean manufacturer this year. The OnePlus 8 will also feature an AMOLED panel with a 120 hertz refresh rate. And it'll also include motion estimate and motion compensation, MEMC, for smooth video playback and 10-bit color gamut. The OnePlus 7 Pro also received an A+ rating last year, and it looks like OnePlus is aiming to outdo itself this year. The OnePlus 8 series will be unveiled on April 14th. If you're eager to find out more about the phone, hit up the link below. Again, great to see OnePlus doing some good things. But again, don't take DisplayMate or things like DxOMark as the Bible. Use it as a guide. Again, do your homework, do your research. Also, the question here is, for someone like me, how much is this OnePlus 8 Pro going to cost? I think Pete Lau said it's not going to be $1,000, right? So it'll be less than that. But what is that? $900? If it is, yeah, it's going to have real high-end specs, and it's going to be the phone to get, I'm sure. But I'll wait. Like, drop that $900, drop that $900 to 500, and we can talk. Whenever that happens, I don't know, but I can wait. And you know why I can wait? Because I got no money. Okay, I might be ending this soon, guys. We're running a little long now. So I want to talk about Amazon. You know, Amazon, the richest company in the world with the biggest. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, the richest person in the world with one of the biggest companies in the world. I'm guessing, if not the biggest. I could be wrong about that, but dude makes a lot of money. I forget how much money he makes per second, something disgustingly huge. And there have been issues because, and this is before coronavirus even, don't pay their workers right. I don't know if you guys know this, but there were stories about people who had to deliver the shit on time, so they wouldn't get in trouble. And these guys were pissing in their cars, right? They would carry like a fucking Gatorade bottle or something, right? Because they couldn't even take breaks because they had to get the jobs done. And then coronavirus hits, and a lot of these warehouses, there was no PPE, like protective equipment, to use. There were no real safety regulations going on to help slow down. I mean, these are frontline workers. These guys are delivering shit to your house because you don't want to leave the house, because you don't want to catch anything. You don't want to get infected. You don't want to infect other people. But these guys are on the front lines, probably getting paid shit to do things to help everybody else. These guys deserve protection. That's the least they can do, is they deserve proper protection equipment. I haven't read this article, so I just want to go into it. Amazon has detailed some new measures it's taking to prevent any further spread of COVID-19. And I love how that they're taking new measures, but you're doing it now instead of weeks ago, instead of when it was already spreading to this point. Like, it took the point of people bitching about it. Like somebody in New York, right? Did you guys read about that? Someone in New York was striking because of the poor conditions, and Amazon fired him. They fired him because, why are you speaking out against this? Keep your mouth shut. If you get coronavirus, well, too bad, so sad. Like, that's not how our company should run. That's not how we should be leading where we're at. So it says here, according to routers, including temperature checks and distributing face masks to employees at Amazon warehouses and Whole Foods stores. The commerce giant has seen a dramatic increase in demand as countries and regions globally have ordered lockdown and varying degrees of self-isolation and quarantine measures, and has also seen confirmed cases of COVID-19 among warehouse workers across the US. Of course, like, you're going to put all these people together working there every day. It's going to happen. It's happening everywhere. People who work at grocery stores, people who work at fast food restaurants, nurses, doctors, they're getting it. Police, look at how many Chicago policemen have gotten it now. All this is going to do is just lower the workforce, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I got an emergency alert on my phone telling me that Illinois needed healthcare workers to step up and contribute and volunteer, because we're sorely lacking in that. I don't know when this peak is, or this, I don't know when this curve is going to start dipping, but it's not dipping. And I don't know if it's going to dip anytime soon. And again, this is why it's important to have this protection out there. You want people to keep the whole issue with Instacart. Instacart is that delivery service that drops groceries off to your front door. You want these guys to keep dropping stuff off to your door, give them the proper equipment so that they can do it. I mean, how lucky are you that you get to be at home and order your groceries so somebody can go do it for you and take the risk of getting coronavirus? Am I not wrong in saying, or am I not right in saying that? Not all of us are that lucky. Some of us have to get paid shit and do whatever work we got to do just so we can pay the bills. That, I don't know. It's going to be bad, guys. I just hope a lot of us make it through. So it says here, so Amazon has already described some precautions it's been taking, including mandatory paid 14-day quarantines for employees who test positive. Thank God they're doing that now, as well as increased cleaning and sanitation efforts of facilities and infrastructure. The new measures to be introduced next week, including taking temperatures of employees at the entrances to warehouses, with any individuals with a fever of more than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit to be sent home, where they'll have to have 3 consecutive days without fever to return to work. Employees will also be provided with surgical masks starting next week. The company says once it receives shipments of orders of millions placed a few weeks ago. In addition to these measures, Amazon will also be using machine learning powered software to monitor footage from cameras in and around buildings to ensure that employees are maintaining the safe recommended distances from one another during shifts. There have been a number of employee actions in response to Amazon's handling of the coronavirus crisis, including a walkout of the company's Staten Island warehouse. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, which led to the firing of the worker who led the action. Employees at a Detroit Amazon warehouse are also planning a walkout to protest what they cite as dangerous working conditions. So again, yeah, guys, just be safe out there. It's a weird time to be in. And again, I said this before, that's why it's important to be good to each other, because everybody is just there's no cure for it yet. Like, let's not forget, people are dying. I checked yesterday, over 1,000 people died in the US. The day before that, it was 900 something. And then the day before that, it was 500. So like, this shit is starting to double in numbers. It's just progressively getting worse. Let's not forget that we're still people and we need to treat each other with respect, especially these companies who are really just out there for a profit, and who are putting a lot of people at risk, just so people can get shit delivered to their doorstep. So anyway, guys, I'm probably going to leave it here. Not the best story to end it on. I know that's kind of, so if you guys want a little levity, I am on day 2 of my Pixel 4, and so far so good. I don't know. I use my iPhone 11 Pro for so long now that I was just really used to using it. But my Pixel 4 has been a pretty good experience still. You know, it's been really fast and smooth. I do miss the fingerprint reader. The face unlock it's good, but it's not great. So that's it. I'm making a video on that like a week from now, after I use it for a week straight as my daily driver. But yeah, I might end it there, guys. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about chat. So let's see. You guys are just chatting. Good. Yeah, Brian says, yeah, customer service over bathroom breaks. My old client, who is an ER nurse, said the same thing. He can't go to the bathroom, so he doesn't drink enough water every day. Yeah, that's such a broken thing. Yeah, this type of crap happens in healthcare every day. Yeah, don't even let me get into the whole healthcare system and how broken that is too. Brian with the $1 super chat. Brian, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. Brian says quarantine fund. Brian, again, thanks so much. I did forget to say that. For anybody who's here in the chat or who's come by, again, thank you guys so much. If you guys haven't already, please like the video. Again, I don't know how well that does for me in the whole YouTube scheme of things, but if it's helpful, that's great. You know, it's a way to support me, I guess. Feel free to share and subscribe if you haven't already too. I do have an Instagram and a Twitter. You can find me at Phone Jerome. I have a Patreon, but I'm not going to talk about that right now because I really need to figure that shit out properly. But again, you can find me on other platforms at Phone Jerome. I'm going to end the stream here. Brian, again, thanks so much for the super chat. Everybody else, thank you for stopping by. I should really put it on a big screen when I'm about to leave here. I do have an outro that I don't think played properly last time, and I want to make sure I can properly play that this time. So I want to play that as I go because it's kind of just like chill music before you leave, you know? Shit, I don't think I have it. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I didn't make an outro. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm about to share that in a second. But yeah, guys, thank you for coming by. Again, I stream daily, or I try to stream daily at 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to check me out. Again, I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully there are a few more. I'm putting this in because I'm making sure the audio works. There are a few more stories tomorrow, but I think the LG V60 was a good one. I think I might start doing that, going through those reviews a little more in depth, talking about the cameras and stuff, and just giving my thoughts on it. So anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again so much for coming by, and that's it. So I'm gonna play music, and then you guys can go, and bye, guys.